welcome to another episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. Today we have with us an amazing guest, a historian, a Hollywood historian, a actor, a creator, a YouTuber, also a data analyst at the Fed. Talk about multi-hyphenate. We have with us Antonia Carlotta. But before we get to Antonia, I need to check in with my sisters, because we haven't really been in the studio setting together, the three of us. We've been at the chaos of live streams, but I have to check in with my sisters. This is the first time we're all together since the two of you took the reins of the show by yourselves for the first time in 4 years.
True story.
And rather than me evaluate,
didn't burn it down.
I'll take a very modern approach. How do you write your self-evaluation?
I'm like, what's higher than an A+?
Honestly, I thought it was amazing.
It was amazing.
I think you did a great job. And I was worried when you told me that you were going to talk about Grey's Anatomy. But even I
barely. We wanted to talk about all the things you don't watch.
And I really enjoyed the discussion of Grey's Anatomy. Didn't understand a word of it, but I thought it was funny. So well done. Thank
you.
Good.
That actually, that
means a lot.
I think that you did a great job, and it was really nice to know that if something ever happens to me, the podcast will continue. Are you?
We can keep recording it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess we'll email it to all our friends. Like, I don't know how to post it.
I know. I still had to edit it.
We'll just
send out CDs.
The best was, I think it actually took me more work than when we actually just do it together.
No, really?
Well, anyways. Becky, we did Comic-Con together, Baltimore Comic-Con. It was in the Baltimore Convention Center. It was 3 days. It was wild. We were next to Tom King, the award-winning winner of Batman, writer of Batman. We were 2 booths down from Garth Ennis, who created The Boys, 2 booths down from Frank Cho, right in the center of the action.
And right next to our good buddy now, Gene Ha.
Hung out with Chris Miscavige, our guest from last week, and Vincent Kings. What'd you think of your first big con? This was your first.
I think I've been spoiled, because we had such a good. The placement of our booth was so good. We had so much fun. I genuinely worry about doing another one, because I don't know how it could be matched.
It is going to be matched, and we're working on actually a really cool, getting to a really cool community one, a smaller one that is built by a fan community that's in Maryland. I don't want to mention it yet because we're still working on the details, but that one is going to be amazing.
But
and it's going to be a totally different vibe, but it is going to be.
I will say though, consistently the best part of cons are the people that you meet, and truly that is the best part of it. Everyone we talked to was so genuine and fun, and had great stuff to share, great things to educate me on, because as we know, I don't really know anything about comics, but everyone is very kind and generous with their explanations, and it's really just a great time. And I think it was a big upgrade from the first time we did it, as much fun as we had there, because we were just a little bit more organized and prepared of everything from how we were going to set up the booth to how we were going to run our programming throughout the day. So it felt like a lot more organized for us and easier to manage, because 3 days is a marathon. I will say though, the one big problem was that we were a man down, and I'm not sure how I feel about doing it again.
Yes, Lily. By the way, Lily's texting us right now, telling us to move the segment along, when the entire point of this segment was to actually tell Lily that we missed her. We're like winding it up.
Yeah, but we have this amazing guest, and I'm like, I get it.
But
the con was great.
The point of the segment was to tell Lily that we missed you.
Don't tell my private chat messages to the world.
Wait, I'm not getting those messages.
But we couldn't do it without you.
Or are you messaging about me?
So good, but we couldn't do it without you. Well, now
you'll see it.
All right. Well,
Lily, we missed
Lily.
You. Now
I missed you. I missed you guys too. I did. I maybe it's my passive aggressive feeling left outness.
Lily's like, stop telling me about the good time you had. The whole point was to say I missed you.
Well, I missed you guys
we're
too.
We're all back together, and we have a new sibling, because anyone who comes on the show becomes a new sibling. So Antonia Carlotta, I met you through the wild world of Clubhouse during that brief period when it was amazing, and it was a lot of fun. And you have some of the coolest talents, and definitely one of the best, most informative and engaging YouTube channels, universally me. I'm going to say it over and over again. Everyone should watch this. Welcome, Antonia.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here. That's the nicest introduction I could have heard. So thank you. So I'm happy to be a sibling.
You are now a sibling. And before we talk about your amazing channel, which tells the history of Hollywood from your incredibly unique perspective, I'm not going to get into the spoilers of aside from the fact that you know all this amazing information, but you have a special connection. Being a sibling, we want to ask you how you're doing and what you did last night, which is something that truly terrifies me. It's something Lily would take her little children on of like a normal activity, but
Shai just texted me and I was like, hey Shai, just give me some more like content that I can watch before to do my prep for the episode or whatever. And he's like, well, like the YouTube channel, all that stuff. And then he's like, actually just go to her stories on Instagram.
Stories were a little terrifying.
And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. That's a weird ask. So I then clicked on them and I was like, oh, okay, I see. Shai, I guess they can't be friends in real life. Like you guys can be friends on the podcast.
They can be friends. They just can't do stuff together.
You can't do stuff with Shai.
Or me, for that matter, by the way. More than one ride has been shut down because of me.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Becky does not do a haunted house. And I don't think Shai...
No.
Shai either.
So,
but
tell us where you were. Tell us all about it. And we're very glad you made it. Was anyone in your party murdered?
Yeah, close. It was a close call a couple times, but we all managed to get out alive, I think. I went to Universal Halloween Horror Nights last night, which is so much fun out here. For anybody who hasn't been before Universal, for the months of like September and October, every evening they change the whole park to be haunted and scary. You can still ride a lot of the rides, but then they have these haunted mazes you can go through, and characters sort of roaming the park with like chainsaws and masks and fire and stuff. And they'll just come after you as you're walking through the park. So it's really scary. It is really fun.
Lily and Antonia, why is this fun?
I've only been to one of these.
Does not latch on to why this could be fun.
And to be fair, I was tricked into going. Like I didn't know I was going. Someone took me as a surprise.
So many people find this fun. This is like a fun way to spend.
This is my husband's dream for an activity.
To me, scary movies, haunted houses, they all give me that like roller coaster adrenaline rush feeling, which I just happen to find really exciting. I'm sure that if I actually thought I was going to be murdered, like different story, but I know that these are just, jumps like designed to make me excited. And some of them
feel like
so creative.
You have it in your genes or something because
probably pretty comfortable with monsters. No, my brain cannot differentiate between the fake and the real, and I just assume it's all real.
When you go, Antonia, if I'm with my own family, I go into protection mode. I will say I was in my family at Busch Gardens, and in the evening it turned into Halloween horror, but during the day it was regular, and it was 5:55 and we were on the wrong side of the park, and we had to get the kids out of the park because they're more scared than me. And so we threw the kids on our shoulders and ran out of the park right as the guys turned into zombies. And so I was in protection mode. But if I'm there with adults, I am beyond terrified. I know I'm the first one that's going to get murdered. So if I go with
Lily,
don't
actually murder anyone.
But if I go with Lily and
it's
Becky,
for fun.
I know Lily's the one who protects us. When you go, are you the protector, or are you more, relying on someone else in your crew to protect you?
I think I start out by taking the role of the protector. I'm like, I've got this, hold on to my arm, we're going to be good. But there will be scares that come up where I'm the one that like runs or jumps.
What was the scariest one last night? Because to me, I got from your stories, the vibe I got from you was like giddy, like that this was fun.
Yeah,
the Exorcist part was fun.
The two, I did not get a chance to go on every single maze, but my two favorites were The Exorcist and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
This
I would
sounds
say my
horrifying.
biggest scare came from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it was just so good. The scary guy, like in the mask, pointed at like this one wall, and so like we sort of looked, and then another guy like came charging against the wall there. So it was like this great. I don't know. It was great teamwork. Like kudos to them. The Exorcist, I would say, had the best like full cohesive story going through it.
That's amazing. Okay, so
Wild.
You are in Universal Studios today, but Universal Studios is in your blood also. You have a channel, Universally Me. I love these videos so much because you are a fantastic storyteller. I love your
Yes, I have
voice,
to agree with that.
structure, the imagery that you pull together, all the pieces of your story, but you also put a lot of heart into it. So tell us where Universally Me came from, why you do it, and some of maybe your favorite, your bits, like if people had to go to some of your favorite videos, what they would be.
Sure. Yeah. So my great uncle Carl Laemmle started Universal Studios back in 1912, and a ton of my relatives lived and worked there over the years. So his son Carl Jr. took over the studio at 21 and was producing movies. My great grandfather Eddie was a director there. My Aunt Carla lived on the lot, and she was in Dracula and Phantom of the Opera. So Universal is really important to me, and it is part of my blood. My uncle Carl, in addition to starting Universal, also won a Supreme Court case against Thomas Edison that broke up the film monopoly that existed and allowed the industry to flourish the way that it has. And as Hitler came to power in Germany, he also sponsored hundreds of Jewish families to come to the United States.
Just like if that wasn't enough.
I was really hoping, by the way, that you had mentioned that because we're Jews.
We're Jewish.
The people listening hadn't noticed. And we've been on this thing for about 2 years, just about mentioning a little bit about the positive Jewish history of Jewish characters, and you've talked about that in your videos, and I love that you elevated that little piece of the story, that Hollywood isn't always just glitz and glam, but there were people in Hollywood who played a role in saving people's lives. And I think that is an incredible piece of the story of your family.
Yeah, and I don't think that gets highlighted enough. And if Carl Laemmle had done any one of the things that he had done,
that would have been enough.
Exactly. And he did all of these things, and somehow, like most people, that you go up to on the street would have never heard his name before. And so as I started learning more about my own family history and started realizing how little of it was out there, that was sort of the catalyst for me then to start Universally Me, and to, use it as a way to learn about my family, a way to learn about history, a way to learn about the city that I live in, and then also to share that with other people and hopefully continue his legacy and his story that way.
So, all right. And I want to congratulate you because 100,000, more than 100,000 now views, right? You've crossed a really big milestone recently, which is amazing.
And I haven't looked at my numbers in a while. I think I crossed 200,000
okay, so
views.
It was 100,000 earlier this year, and I know you announced it, but that's a huge milestone.
Thank you.
It's amazing to have that kind of impact, and that's an exciting thing because it's not like you're doing, dance videos or those weird mukbang things that Becky watches.
I don't watch those. Oh my God, I don't watch those.
I don't know. You seem to know a lot. Every time we pull food out of the freezer, Becky's like, anyone doing a mukbang video?
First of all, you're just jealous because I'm the youngest and therefore the most in tune with
the culture these days.
The culture these days. And two, don't tarnish my good name by saying I watch mukbang videos. I watch ASMR videos.
Okay.
Two very
different things. By the way,
things.
Antonia's voice. Couldn't Antonia do
I love your voice.
I'm addicted.
Couldn't Antonia's voice be an ASMR voice?
I think so. I highly enjoyed your storytelling. I have to say a few things. Shai, can I say a few things?
Of course.
Okay.
I don't think we can stop you.
Host the show now.
I don't think we can stop me. Good. Number one, I really appreciate your storytelling, and I like how you do it in a very concise manner. Like, I feel like there's so much detail probably, and
Lily almost wishes she could be like you.
I can't
We
do
wish
anything
she could be
concisely, but the story of about losing the studio, and that's a 7-minute video, and I feel like that could be a 35-minute video or an hour, or just that, you know what I mean? And I feel like you tell it with such heart and enough detail that like I get the drama of it, and it's something that people can digest and enjoy. But it's hard to have, I think, every video be an hour long. You know what I mean? About anything. And so I find that very impressive. Number two, specifically in that video, I just have to mention that unfortunately, when your family did lose the studio, which I guess you talk about it briefly, but it is a pretty big bummer. And and how it happened too, because it seems like an unfortunate business deal. But yet your great uncle, right? Your great uncle, he loses everything that he built, kind of his son's fault. It's pretty shitty. And then he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not just going to be rich and like pissed off. I'm going to go save hundreds of Jews.
Right.
Like that chronological order I find is very fascinating and important.
Absolutely. And that's, one of those things that I use to power myself through my day. If things are really crummy or I'm having a tough time, it's like, well, he lost an entire studio and then went on to save hundreds of lives. Like, I can get through this, or I can be better.
It's quite a role model.
Absolutely.
Of like, yeah, for an entire family. And I think it's very cool that you're carrying on that legacy. It's pretty awesome. And then the other thing, and I don't know, Shai, if this is out of order, but the other thing I want to say is, like, as someone who studied cultural studies, your Frankenstein.
No, it's a perfect time.
Your Frankenstein. Well, I'm just telling, I could ask a question, but I just want to just open up by saying that your Frankenstein video and your Frankenstein passion and the labeling of things, I think, is so fascinating. And that whole debate is amazing.
Oh, the Frankenstein.
Your comment section is even better. The comments on the video, I went deep into those.
The video people are referencing is my absolute favorite on your channel.
Yes.
I have watched it more than once. And the video is called, everyone should look at it. It's called, You Can Call the Monster Frankenstein. Here's why. And Antonia lays out why. Antonia, could you briefly lay out why?
Well, can you just wait, before you do that, can you explain this issue, that this is actually quite a big deal?
Yeah, so there's a debate that's gone on for decades, hundreds of years, centuries, whatever at this point, about whether the monster is Frankenstein or whether it's Frankenstein's monster. Can you call the monster Frankenstein, or is it the monster and Frankenstein is the
scientist?
Yeah. And I have faced this debate like hundreds of times on my own channel, because anytime that I will say Frankenstein, I will get a bunch of comments that are like, that's not Frankenstein, that's the monster, Frankenstein's the doctor, and all of this stuff. And I get a lot of people trying to like teach me in my own comments as though it's the first time I've ever heard it.
It's a lot of mansplaining.
Yes. And sometimes it's frustrating because it'll be in a video where I will say something like, hey, I know that there's this debate, but for this purpose, because, this is how Universal did it, I'm going to call him Frankenstein. And I'll still get comments telling me, I was wrong.
You don't know what you're talking about.
No.
Right.
And
Universal made the movie to tie it back to your family history.
Yes, exactly. So I'll say, maybe in the book it was this way, but here's how Universal chose to do it, so I'm going to do it this way. And then I still get a lot of people. So I did break down, all of the different reasons going back to the book and the play and, Universal, and just about how language evolves and changes. And so maybe at one time it would have been an okay argument to say, no, he's only the monster, but now he very much is Frankenstein. And you just go watch the video. I say it much, much more clearly there. But that was a fun one to make, because I felt like I got to just be like passionate and put my opinions
It's very
out there.
cool. And to know that, the legacy, there's so much legacy that you have in your family, but the specific Frankenstein one is phenomenal. Like, that's pretty incredible. And I do really like the point that you agree on. I got nervous for a second. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to disagree with her. But I do appreciate that you said, let's let the literature speak for itself and kind of the rest of pop culture be in a second camp of calling, because the literature is a bit different, where it's
I also
not
think
named.
that illuminates something that we do talk about sometimes when people get really attached to the book version. And sometimes you have to let the TV version or the movie version become its own canon, right? Like at a certain point, it exists as a thing, as a medium
for sure,
and it's
right?
Not stuck with that original thing,
right? There's so much, going from the book to the movie that was changed, and that can be another part that has evolved. That's not exactly as the book is.
Yeah, and I mean, come on, how many books are better than the movie, guys?
No,
really?
That's not true. A lot of them, but I mean, also in today's pop culture, how many people, when they reference Frankenstein, are talking about the book?
Right,
a bunch of English literature majors. That's it. Like, let's be honest. So yeah, just that whole debate is so cool. I really appreciated that.
Yes, and I did still have a lot of people with a lot of strong opinions in those comments, and occasionally, not to be negative here, but occasionally just sometimes things that I addressed in the video, they were telling me in the comments, and I was like, no, if you watch the video, I addressed this.
Yeah.
Right.
That video is awesome. I want to name check a couple other of your videos and then ask you a little, and then we're going to dive into monsters because it's Halloween season. We tried to schedule this before Halloween, but you know what? It's still Halloween season. It's cold.
It's always Halloween season.
It's the night before Halloween.
Yeah, we're recording this the night before Halloween. So even though this will drop next week, you know what? It's still our Halloween episode.
People are still eating their candy.
We're doing the best we
can. Still eating their candy. I mean, I'm still eating
which people
candy. Okay, so some highlights for me. How my family lost Universal Studios is the whole Carl Emily Jr. story told in 7 minutes. It's extremely compelling. There are so many interesting, surprising twists. It's so cool. You can call the monster Frankenstein. Here's why it's amazing. Then just the breakdown of the monsters, part 1 and 2, are also greatest hits. Check those out. Are there any others that are huge favorites of yours, Antonia, that you would tell folks to go check out?
Yes. A couple of years ago, I interviewed my Aunt Carla.
That's a wonderful
4 years
video.
Old. Yeah. And she grew up living on the Universal Studios lot. She was in Dracula and Phantom of the Opera, which I mentioned earlier, and she was just full of stories. So I definitely recommend watching that. I also really love my video. I think it's titled "My Uncle Fired Walt Disney."
Oh, I saw that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's about how Disney started working at Universal. He created Oswald the Lucky Rabbit there.
Oh, wow.
And it was when he was fired that he went on to make Mickey Mouse, and everything changed. So I think that's a really interesting video.
So you're even responsible for all of Disney.
Yes.
What you're saying.
Yeah. If there's a way that I could claim ownership of that too, that would be great.
Fun fact, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, I believe, got traded back to Disney with Monday Night Football.
Al Michaels.
With Al Michaels.
Yes.
Yeah,
who I
had deep cut, Shay.
I know. I'm impressed that you know that. I had no idea until I was making the video. And then I play fantasy football now. So I watch a lot of football. And one day he popped up and I was like, oh, he's still commentating sports. So I guess it was a good trade.
Al Michaels, Al Michaels, I watch football. That's really the only sport I love. But Al Michaels is, how our parents and grandparents talk about certain voices, like the Vin Scullys and all these old. Al Michaels is that guy for me. He is like the voice of sports for me. He called a lot of the most important moments. And so Al Michaels.
Do you think that was a good trade?
Do I think it was a good trade? I think it's sort of an immaterial trade in a sense. Like, what does NBC Universal need the Walt Disney's old rabbit for? What are they going to do with it? Like put him, put him in, have him fight Frankenstein, put him in a Fast and the Furious movie.
I do like seeing that there are Mickey ears at Disney. They have Oswald ears now, and it feels like a little Easter egg for me anytime I'm at Disney.
Yeah, that's really cool. And also the thing is that at the time, they were moving the Sunday Night Football crew. They were moving Michaels and Madden together. They were putting Michaels and Madden together, and that was really important for the sound of football at the time. And I personally think Al Michaels is more important to sports than a rabbit that Universal probably was burying and not going to use because it would be a nod to Disney. So, this isn't your grandfather's Disney either, right? Universal. This is another version of Universal. So, anyways, so that's where I am on that one. I hope, is that too much of a hot take?
No.
Okay. All right.
I'm leaving the podcast.
Let's talk monsters now. Okay. We're going to put you on the hot seat. You're going to play one of the most important and the newest, it's not the newest, one of the newest Friday night movie games. It's like a year old now. It's called the Compare-a-thon. It was actually created by one of our fellow podcasters. No, it was created by us, but it was named by one of our fellow podcasters, Chris Royce, while he was a guest on the show. And it's called the Compare-a-thon. And we are going to force you to choose and justify your choices as you go. You don't have to take a long time to justify them, but I'm going to name a universal monster because they are the universal monsters. I think people don't often really understand that these were made. The reason why we all know about them is because Universal Studios made these monsters famous, the Universal monsters. And then I'm going to bring another one up, and then you're going to have to say either or, and we're going to go through them, and then one will be named Antonia Carlotta's champion. And seeing how you are the Hollywood historian and expert in Universal Studios, that one will just have to be the champion. So whichever one Antonia says, that's the best one. Lily and Becky, are you cool with that?
Power is a blessing and a curse.
Yep. I think it sounds great.
All right. So Dracula. And then Dracula versus Frankenstein.
Did you have to start with like the big two?
No, you know what I'll do? I'm gonna, you know what? You're right. I'm not going to. I'm going to leave Frankenstein for the end. All right. So Dracula and the Mummy.
Yeah. So between the two of them, and I love both of those movies very much, I'm going to go Dracula. I love that he's charming. I love that he's smart. I do like the accent. I'm a big Bela Lugosi fan. And my Aunt Carla spoke the opening lines in Dracula. So to the movie itself, I have quite a connection. So between the two, Dracula, but I do love the Mummy very much.
Very cool. All right. Dracula and the Invisible Man.
Again, I'm going to stick with Dracula. I love the Invisible Man. I love that the Invisible Man is like a pretty gory, violent film as far as those old ones go. But I love my man Dracula.
And a really creepy concept when you really think hard about it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, Dracula and one in which you have, there is a magnificent picture of you taken. I don't know if that even counts as a cosplay. It's art, but where you are made up as the Bride of Frankenstein.
Yes.
Very cool.
And if you want to throw any facts about that picture, because that's on your YouTube page, that's like the banner.
Yes. Yeah. I, a couple of years ago was approached by this photographer, Chris Hesby, who is just really talented. And he came to me with this idea of, I would love to do a series of you dressed up as the classic monsters. Let's start with the Bride. And he put together this whole shoot, and it turned out, absolutely incredible. And through that, now artists as well have like painted pictures of me as the Bride based on his photography. It turned into the most incredible thing. But yes, feeling like that, it was just another way that I got to be a part of my family's history and feel, that I was again carrying that on in a new way. So anyway, it's so hard for me to pick between Dracula and the Bride of Frankenstein, but I am gonna now swapsies to the Bride of Frankenstein. Just has a little bit of an edge there.
That's very cool. Becky and Lily, that would be like if someone took a picture of us as a giant piece of locks.
I was just thinking that. If we dressed
Were you
up
thinking
as
locks?
Yeah, I was thinking
maybe locks and
because Jews.
No, because our grandfather owned a fish store.
Oh,
wasn't like a
I didn't
generic
go that
Jewish
far. Well, I feel like it'd be much cooler to be like. I was wondering why you're going so generic. He was also a New York City firefighter, so I feel like.
Yeah, but like, what are you going to
That'd
put
be cooler.
Me in, like, a sexy fireman outfit? That's weird.
I'd rather that than carp.
I would definitely rather cosplay as a piece of locks.
No. Okay, the Bride versus
all the fixings.
The Wolfman. Specifically the Wolfman, not the werewolf, but the Wolfman. Because I feel like that's more iconic.
I did make a video about the Wolfman earlier this year in which I say I respect the film. I think it's good, but the Wolfman has just never been my monster. So I'm sticking with the Bride.
Okay. Now, The Invisible Woman, I admit I did not even know that was till I did some research for this episode. So I imagine she's not going to have much of a chance versus the Bride.
No, not even close.
I mean, we don't know what she looks like. All right. This one is pretty cool. The Creature from the Black Lagoon versus the Bride of Frankenstein.
That's a very cool one.
I love The Creature. I love that movie. Something about the aesthetic of the whole thing. Also, a book worth reading is The Lady from the Black Lagoon, which is about the woman, Millicent Patrick, who created the look of the monster, who was very much buried in history by men at Universal who were threatened by her popularity. She went on a whole, I don't know, like a publicity tour and whatnot after, was gaining some notoriety, and then got kind of blacklisted and smushed down. So book worth reading, a movie worth watching. I still love The Bride a little bit more, but The Creature is like one of my favorite movies. And anytime I watch like Jaws or even Anaconda, like, you know, any of those kind of oceany Amazon scary movies, I can see how The Creature influenced those. So
that's fantastic, because I often will pop off about how Jaws is the movie that everything came from, but it's good to put that in some perspective. So thank you.
Of course, absolutely.
That's really cool. All
Glad
right,
I could bring that to you.
All right, Jaws, Steven Spielberg, you think you're so hot? No. All right, the She-Wolf and the Bride.
So funny. I had to look up the She-Wolf, and I actually found out you never see a She-Wolf in the movie, but it is June Lockhart who played the mom in Lassie, which was like my favorite when I was a little kid.
Oh, wow.
Not going to win over the Bride of Frankenstein, but I just found that so just so fun to find out. That's I think it came out in the like mid to late 40s, which is a little later than most of the videos that I do.
All right. And now we are going to close out. The Bride is going to go up against two heavy hitters. So I had saved a heavy hitter for the end, but now we're going to go against two. So the first is the Phantom.
I love the Phantom. I love Lon Chaney, the man of 1,000 faces. He did, you know, all of his own makeup for that movie, and he like really committed to it. He put like egg whites in his eyes and, you know, would sort of deform his cheeks he made his face look like a skull, basically, was the idea. So talented, so scary at the time, but aesthetically and like, I don't know. I just love the Bride so much. I'm going to stick with the Bride. Is that like anticlimactic? I guess we still have one left.
No, you have one left. No.
But I love the Phantom of the Opera. And my great aunt Carla was the prima ballerina in that as well.
Wow.
Look, Compare-a-thon, we declare a winner, but it's also a trick in order to get you, an expert, to weigh in on all these amazing movies really quickly. It's like we're squeezing in and getting a crash course in the Universal monsters. All right. And now we've talked about them a lot today. The Bride of Frankenstein versus Frankenstein.
Yeah. And so this one, I think it depends on my mood, because I think I get asked about who my favorite monster is a lot. And I think I go back and forth between the Bride of Frankenstein and Frankenstein. Today, my choice, final answer, is going to be Frankenstein. And I say that because, well, I really love both movies. I love both monsters, but Frankenstein is the star of the show in both. The Bride does not get so much screen time. While she owns the minute or two that she's got, that's about it. And Frankenstein's carrying the rest. And I feel like he's so lovable, right? He's just,
it's heartbreaking. I mean, the original one is such a heartbreaking
it's sad
movie.
Yeah, he's just trying to understand the chaos in the world and like what's going on around him. He just wants a friend, and I want to be his friend. So Frankenstein, that's the one.
All right. That's amazing. All right, he's been declared. Okay, now we're gonna put you. We're gonna take like a couple minutes before we wrap up, and we're gonna put you into the signature game of Friday Night Movie. Just 2 quick rounds. And I don't think you've actually seen this, because you have told me this before, that while you're an expert on the classic movies, you haven't seen a lot of the modern adaptations, which is usually that makes this game even funnier. And Lily and Becky are going to weigh in and help you decide also. So
do they get to go first?
Sure, they'll
no. I mean, sure, maybe.
I mean, they'll go. I mean, Lily, first of all, never follows the rules. Becky
True.
will follow the rule. Lily will have an opinion, and they'll all be misshaping the rules. Becky will take a while, but have strong opinion, and then
I feel like I usually answer gut reaction.
Gut reaction. I mean, this is about gut. So, okay. So in the 90s, which I don't know everybody, I mean, my sister's age, I don't know your age, but in the 90s, I remember this period very clearly. Also, for some reason, a number of these movies had apostrophes. They were billed in the possessive. The most comically named, but probably the best movie of the group is. So we're going to play Buy, Rent, Meh. The way Buy, Rent, Meh works is that Buy, Rent, and Meh are the official rating system of Friday Night Movie. We actually have two other categories that have been added to the rating system, bleh and sell, but we're not going to complicate things with that today.
Okay.
And Buy, Rent, Meh are so you have to assign each of these three things gets only one of the things. Buy, do you remember the video store era? Did you interact with video stores? Okay, so you'd buy a VHS that you loved for $20 in the 90s, which was like $200 today, and then or you'd rent it for $5 for a day, or meh. Now meh doesn't mean throw it out. That's the difference between our game and the other game that sounds like this. Meh, depending on how you deliver the meh, it could mean I don't know, I didn't like it. Maybe it's just I have an ambiguous feeling about it, right? Or maybe it's just fine, right? Or the meh has all the different meanings you want it to have. So it's a little bit of a wild card. So your first option here is Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is the funniest name for what I think is a pretty cool movie ever. Then you have Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, only one possessive, and then no possessive, which is Wolf. Now, Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula,
the longest title for a movie ever.
Do you think that there was like an actual fight between the estates of like, well, if his name's there, then I want my name there, or like, is this
I don't know.
Thing?
I don't know what it could be because
it's just that was also when they had William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Everything had to have
it was like the origin title.
William Shakespeare's Romeo plus Juliet, right? Like everything was very serious back then. And so, and I think Mary Shelley was it Kenneth Branagh who directed that? I think everyone was so, but that one has Anthony Hopkins. It has Winona Ryder. It had Keanu Reeves, but like first popular Keanu Reeves before he became the level of star he is now, which is way more respected. So that one had those, and Gary Oldman before he was even more famous. Then Mary Shelley had freaking Robert De Niro in it, and then Wolf had Jack Nicholson in it and Michelle Pfeiffer at very, very, very peak periods of their careers. Okay,
it is Kenneth Branagh, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. See, I remember these things.
Frankenstein.
Buy, Rent, Meh, go. And Wolf is a famous director too, I think, Lily. I feel like it's like Jonathan Demme or Barry Levinson or like one of those like guys. But Antonia, if you've never seen them, it makes it even funnier.
Mike Nichols. It's Mike Nichols.
Mike Nichols. Okay, I knew it was like a Jewish
hilarious.
guy. I knew it was a Jewish guy who did rom-coms.
So it's like so intense in the 90s.
Yeah.
What a like there was like the 30s and then the 90s. All these movies were remade. It's wild.
All right, Antonia, we've given you time to stall. Buy, Rent, Meh.
Okay, so do I have to do them in order? Can I start with my meh?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to start with my meh. It's going to be Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I feel like I have a memory of starting the film and not finishing it, which means that it must have been a real life meh. I am going to rent Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I love that you're referring it to that because it's the only way.
Thank you for using the full name.
Yes, I would never disrespect it. And I am going to buy Wolf. And that is because Michelle Pfeiffer was my first crush. She's my only crush. And to me, that alone is worth owning the movie.
That's amazing. Michelle Pfeiffer, absolutely one of the greatest of all time. I before I could have like romantic crushes, I just always loved Michelle Pfeiffer. Like there's a whole group of women that I like
Married
as
to
a
the
young
Mob.
kid that I loved. Yeah, exactly.
That movie was like
Grease
instrumental.
2. Grease 2 is the one that did it.
Grease 2, oh.
Married to the Mob.
Married to the Mob.
Married to the Mob. And if you want to see a latter day Michelle Pfeiffer movie that I think is a gem that is unappreciated, it is
the Paul Rudd one.
One with her and Paul Rudd that was made by Amy Heckerling. It's like
who
not
made
a perfect
Clueless.
movie, but
and it dates itself a little bit.
And it's dated, but I think it's
cute.
I'll find you the name.
Did any of you guys see French Exit?
My mom did on the plane.
Watched it on the plane, and
she just
loved
texted
it.
us.
That's where I watched it as well. I kind of really liked that movie. It was like, that's quirky and interesting enough.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that, Rick.
A good rank.
So, and if you want a cute, if you want,
I'm looking it up. Shy.
It's called "I Could Never Be Your Woman." It's a cute movie that got shelved, and I'm sure there was studio meddling, and it's you can just tell that this movie was not finished properly. I put it in the but you'll find it on some streaming service somewhere at some point, or actually you probably have to buy a DVD because like everyone's probably disowned it. But I think it is an underrated gem. It's very cute. It's got that. It's one of those LA movies where she's a showrunner and he's a young actor and they date, and it's about an older woman dating a younger man and sort of subverting age expectations. Not super deep, but it just shows you how awesome Michelle Pfeiffer is.
I mean, she's timeless.
Yeah, she's timeless. She's perfect. She can do everything. Okay. Next one is the comedies. I feel like maybe this is too on the nose. Maybe you get asked by this too often, but I do love a good comedy. Young Frankenstein. Oh, these are, but we're going to get more specific. We're going to say comedies that involve Mel Brooks in some way. Okay. So Young Frankenstein, directed by Mel Brooks. Dracula, Dead and Loving It, which is directed by Mel Brooks, and he is in it. He plays the Van Helsing character. And then a major favorite in my family's house, the most watched of the Hotel Transylvania movies, which is Hotel Transylvania 3, Summer Vacation, because he plays the grandpa Dracula in that. Buy, Rent, Meh, those three.
I am going to meh Dracula, Dead and Loving It.
I saw that. I don't know how I saw that coming, but I did.
I saw that in the theater, and I agree.
It's the one that I know the least about, honestly. I am going to rent Hotel Transylvania 3, Summer Vacation. It just sounds like it might be a good time to watch it.
I will say it is the best of the 4 Hotel Transylvania movies.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah, that endorsement's enough for me. And then I am buying Young Frankenstein because I used to love that movie. I still love that movie. I just haven't seen it in a couple of years now. Classic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Antonia Carlotta. We are nearing the end of the show. We're in the last couple minutes. And the end of the show always ends with our shout outs and recs, which is anything you want to shout out to, anything you want to recommend. You don't have to go first, don't worry. We're going to take a spooky theme. I can see Lily has already not followed the instructions based on the fact that it's late where she is. But you can give your regular recommendations, Lily.
Just kidding. Yeah.
But go for it, Lily. Because I feel like one of these recommendations is based on something I told you to watch. So I'm very excited for it. And I'll throw in my regular ones too. Just try to have one Halloween themed spooky recommendation.
Sure. I mean, I would say that recently I watched The Quiet Place too. And I feel like that counts. And if you hadn't seen it, because it was kind of like a weird pandemic release, like it was released in theaters, maybe not. I don't know. I feel like all of a sudden it was on iTunes and I just saw it there. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that movie came out. To some people, probably Antonia would agree it's not considered a scary movie, but I think it's a fun enough sort of, there is an alien situation and there's a few, fun, quick scares that I would say you could watch that on. I just got something I watched recently on Halloween, but Shai did gift me the new Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis, right?
Halloween Kills. I did gift you that.
Yes.
I figured you saw the first one, which was great that your husband had no idea. Well, look, there's like 4 different versions of that movie and I've seen none of them.
He was very confused. So I have to see that. And then can I give my other recs?
Yeah, just throw them in. Go for it.
Okay, I watched The
You
Chair
have a
on
lot of energy
Netflix.
now.
Oh, with Sandra Oh.
Yeah,
So good.
I
Did
really
you
like
watch it with
that.
Mom?
I did, but she had already seen it and
Which is
forgot that
I
she
feel like
saw
that
it.
upgrades
So
it so much, though. That's not
I'm
fair.
sorry, Lily. I think
It
you
does.
owe me something.
no, not for that.
For The Chair? No.
I was going to
watched
see it.
I watched
You
it
watched it first. Okay,
And
so
I told you to see it. You weren't.
No,
that's
but
true. I
not
was a
an
bit
I
on the
told
fence,
you
and then
show.
I got to recommend.
That's
It's not a
I
full I
told
told
you
you
show.
show.
Lily watched it with Mom. You can't. That's not even. That's like she ran a race on steroids. Like
That's
you can't
true.
even count that for the stats if you watch a show with
So
Mom.
so
Makes
Mom
everything
goes to
better
visit
watching.
for 13 months, and I get no I told you shows.
No, you don't
Okay,
get
it's
no
good to
I
know the
told you
new
shows.
rules.
But that particular
Because
show
Mom's
has.
willing to watch anything.
If you watch
so
that
therefore-
show
She is.
with-
That woman will watch garbage TV. She'll watch
and then rewatch
anything.
it with you.
If
she
you
said.
watch
Yeah.
a show with
Lily,
Lily, weren't
Sandra
you watching
Oh,
something with her the other day where she was so scared she was screaming and covering her eyes? You were telling a story about how
The Quiet Place too.
yeah,
that was the one?
yeah, but if
She
you
screamed so loud at one point that she scared the living shit out of me because she screamed so loud. And my mother-in-law was here too. And I thought that woman was going to pee her pants. She is like super into horror and only watches like the most horror. Like my mom-in-law, God bless her. Nothing scares that lady. She loves horror movies and
she
suspense
would've
and
just hung out with the murdery.
yeah, people at the
guy.
she would
she
have
would've
been like, this is boring.
You would have tried to take a selfie with that Texas Chainsaw guy, that
Right.
Antonia
And
saw.
so she, much more than watching the actual movie, she enjoyed the Me and Mom show experience of watching this movie. And the other day she texted me she's watching the Squid Game right now, which everybody's talking about. And I'm just like, I don't have even enough time to then go and watch Korean like horror television. And she texts me, she's like, oh, I'm watching this. And I'm like, oh, I supposedly pretty gory, right? She's like, it's just not the same without you. Like to like hear my reactions of like, ugh, the whole time. Anyways, then Goliath. Talk about season 2, Shy. That show is so fucked up, man. Like
season 2 is
I would say that's very Halloween.
Weird, and then that's. Did you finish season 2 yet?
No, not yet.
You have
not
to
yet,
call me when you finish season 2 because
it's so. And look, going. The Chair had one Duplass brother. This is the other Duplass brother. He's amazing. What's the other? Mark Duplass. He's. God, that guy is, I give him kudos because that part is really, really, really intensely bizarre and dark. Very, very dark. And he's played dark characters before, but Goliath on Amazon Prime is a cool lawyer kind of detective-y kind of show. But if you're into dark, it's great. And the acting's fantastic. And then we watched Free Guy, which was fun. I watched that with Mom, so that's not fair. I can't tell you what that's really
exactly.
like.
That's like
that woman was cackling. She loved it. Oh, that Ryan Reynolds. He's so cute. Like that, So I don't know if that movie was actually good, but I enjoyed it watching with her. And then I'm curious, and if anybody's seen the show, I think you would. This is like your nightmare show. The Verge, which is Julie Deplis' new show.
Julie
the one
from
from
Before Sunrise.
Deplis, yes, she wrote a show, and I think it's like a 6 or 8 episode show on Netflix about 5 women in their 40s, and like the things that are going on in their lives or whatever. And yeah, I was kind of like, that's a meh to me. I'm kind of disappointed.
I gotta tell you, I sold that after the first app, and I was so sad because I love her and I love Elizabeth Shue.
But if it's
Elizabeth Shue's in it,
but if it's just a telling of like people's boring lives that are like my life, then I'm not interested.
It's not that it's boring, but Shy, you have and I don't mind this genre normally, but Shy has a specific loathing for a genre about privileged people who just complain the whole time. And I don't mind that genre.
Yeah, Shy, don't watch French Exit after all.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it's like successful privileged people who just fetch for the entire show is not
therapy. Go do the work. Like go. Go.
So this show is
go find 100 to fulfill yourself in a meaningful way.
Like I don't mind watching 9 Perfect Strangers or Big Little Lies. Like all of I don't mind. Like
I said,
rich people and drama. I don't care.
9 Perfect Strangers already has 2 strikes for me. Only 8 episodes and no Brunson Pinchot. what are we talking about here? If
I was
Doggy Bartakamus isn't in
The
it,
White Lotus was that the same thing?
Oh, right,
We
yeah.
all
But
loved White
I
Lotus.
did love that show, though. I did love that show, but the
there's a
reason
murder
why,
mystery.
but the reason why was
Connie Britton,
they were bad.
her hair.
All of the characters were bad in it. They
Mm-hmm.
weren't. They weren't really sympathetic. That's
right. No one's
different
inherently good.
That's different than
when you're supposed to sympathize for all of them complaining about being
and they weren't
privileged
sitting
and
around in their
successful.
really they weren't sitting around in their really nice kitchens, being upset about their marriages that they weren't working on, right? That's the part I didn't like.
So this is
Lotus was
literally The Verge is what you described. There's a lot of sitting around kitchens dealing with like marriages and stuff. And so yeah, I kind of disappointed in that one. But
the White Lotus I liked because it really put a magnifying glass on how terrible these people were behaving.
Also, someone pooed in a suitcase. like you brought Mike. He brought it.
Also,
I don't know what else you want out of a television show.
Lily is a really good person. If you go on vacation, Lily is one of the most loyal friends who will fight for you. Antonia, I don't think you realize
about me.
No, I'm just going to say something. Antonia, I don't think you realize this. You really do have us now. We are at your back. Ask the previous guests. The sibling, they'll also be like, it's really weird. Once you do this show, these people really are. You're in their family now. Lily will,
I'll go to bat for you, Antonia.
Go to bat for you randomly.
I'll take over that comment section.
Yeah, Lily will take over. Lily will get in the comic section.
You do not worry.
But there was
you don't give me the pineapple suite when I paid for the pineapple suite. You're gonna hear about it. I'm sorry. I was literally, he's the worst character in the show, and I kept being like to my husband, okay, but they paid for it. So I understand why he's so upset. Just give him the difference in the money at least. It's not fair. They fucking paid for it. My husband's like, you're nuts. He's definitely the villain. And I was like, okay, he's the villain, but it's a complex.
The pineapple suite.
Yeah, it's a complex. And so then after we watched that show, there were several moments in the summer because I spent 4 months with my siblings in the States this summer. There's several moments where we had bought something or were arranging something, and I might have been a little bit like, well, that's not what they promised. And Becky and Charlotte were like, pineapple suite, let it go. Take it down. Anyways.
Yeah, whereas I'm like Mr. It's okay. You got the order wrong, and and the risotto is spoiled, and I will get food poisoning. It's fine.
I'm sorry, it was probably my fault. It was something I said.
I shouldn't have ordered it.
30% tip. 30% tip. My fault. I literally tipped a guy who spilled a Starbucks order. We had a meeting at my house for work, and a guy spilled a pumpkin spice latte all over my porch. It still smells like it, and I over tipped him. That's me.
I'm so sorry for causing you the stress of spilling all over my porch.
Stir, don't worry. Come back whenever you want. Don't come back. Whatever.
But anyways, so that said a lot about White Lotus, though, that I feel like, I know it wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but I think it did have something there that got people's attention.
All right, Becky,
I'm going to keep it very brief because I stayed on topic for this week's Rex. Sorry. And the closest first of all, I do watch some scary movies. I will watch them. But this week I actually watched an episode of the Netflix show, The Movies That Made Us, and they have a really awesome episode about aliens. So the second one, Aliens, part 2.
Oh, cool.
Aliens, directed by what's his name again?
What are you talking about? You are his biggest fan.
No, I know. I forget.
Ridley Scott?
No. It's not him.
James Cameron?
James Cameron. I remember when I say Cameron Crowe, and I'm like, that's not the right person. First of all, I have to say I have a soft spot for James Cameron movies, but that was a really fun, Halloween, scary movie, not scary movie watch this week, and that's my only rec. So I made up for how much time Lily took. Who's next?
That's good. Antonia.
Okay. I guess I'll do 3 recs. They're super random. And I'm not going to it's tempting just to recommend the Universal Monsters. I won't do it, but everyone should go out and watch all those movies. But okay, I'm going to start with the Happy Death Day movies, which I think in the horror community is like a lot of people really appreciate those movies, but I don't think a lot of people outside know of those films. And there's like 3 of them, and they're like all really good and creative and different. So that's my number one. It's kind of like Groundhog Day, but also like a little bit of murder thrown in there.
Are they funny? I'm a big horror comedy guy. That's the horror I love. Okay.
There's something so great about like when you're laughing but terrified at the same time. I think that's like another plug for like why I like horror nights and those sort of haunted house things. They're like a little bit hilarious and a little bit terrifying. I am also going to recommend, this is so random, but I've been watching a lot of Muppets Haunted Mansion, which is just like sort of cute and funny. My girlfriend's kids like are obsessed with that movie, so that's the one we've been watching every night. But like really cute and fun. And then the last is a little bit of a self plug, but a documentary that I'm in called Carl Laemmle just aired on TCM, and I think that you can still go and like record and watch it. And I'm just like, I don't know, a little bit proud and excited. So my third plug is if you can watch Carl Laemmle, go watch it.
That is awesome.
Nice. I'm definitely going to check that out.
I'm glad you plugged it, because if not, I was going to. That is super awesome. I'm so glad we actually timed this for when it was just aired, right? It's
yeah, it just aired, I think 2 nights ago. So
that's super exciting. All right. I'm gonna plug. So I made the kids watch one of my all-time favorite Halloween movies. I saw it in the theater when I was 10, or before I was 10. It's probably about 9. Spaced Invaders from 1990. It is about a bunch of kids on Halloween. They're in a little town in Illinois, and the War of the Worlds is being played on their radio, and these goofy, pretty inept Martian aliens hear it and think that the Martian invasion is happening in this town. And so they land on the town, and these 5 little green men try to take over the town. And they're in these like the Muppety kind of Jim Henson-y outfits. I don't think it's Henson who did it, but it's from that era around the time of the Ninja Turtles movies. And there's lots of very dated pop culture jokes, and there's lots of dated pop culture jokes. And at the end of the movie, I asked my kids what they thought, and my older one looks at me and goes, "Dad, that was a Rent." And my younger one says to me, "The dubbing of the aliens was terrible, Dad." So that was their review, but I love it.
They're serious critics, those two.
It was it's a very cute, sweet movie. It is not scary. Nobody dies like the Harry Potter movies, but I will say at an hour and 40 minutes, it could use an edit. Pacing's a little slow. PG for movies I just recommend for this era, PG Psycho Goreman. That is, I think, the funniest horror comedy of this year. And plug for our own show, we did get to interview the director, Steve Kostansky, and so that's a fun episode of ours to listen to. That is about kids who unearth a amulet and allows them to control an alien demon who's come to Earth to destroy the planet. And it's not for kids, but it's really funny. Becky introduced me to the Babysitter movies with Samara Weaving, and she gets an I Told You show for those movies. I don't know if I officially gave it to you, but when I Told You show is the highest award on Friday Night Movie.
Watch it. You should watch those this weekend.
You get an I Told You show, Becky. I love them so much. Becky and I were together up in Philly, and we watched both movies in one night. I watched the first one, and I just kept going to the second one.
So good.
And
because they're an hour and a half, you can watch them both in one night.
So Becky,
like the perfect night.
You are a genius. Samara Weaving is amazing.
Lily, I can't wait for you to watch them and give me an I Told You show.
I hope
Antonia, you can text me and I told you so. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, no, yes, you told me so. I have seen them.
Oh, you've seen them, so then I don't get one. If you saw them on your own,
I Told You show is the highest award in our show. It's when someone convinces you to watch something you wouldn't already have seen, and then you have to call them a genius on the show, and they get that as an award.
I'm so
sorry.
It's
like the Great British Baking Show.
First.
No, it's okay, but it's like Great British Baking where the award is just winning. Like we don't.
But Antonia, you were going to ask something. You're asking.
I can't remember now if it's called Ready or Not. Or
that's like one of our big favorites.
So good.
That's actually one of our
favorite
shows of our show. That is one of our.
Okay, and then I don't think it's her, but there's also Better Watch Out, which I feel like is the same. It's
gotta check that out.
I think it's called Better Watch Out. Same like vibe. So I feel like if you liked all those other films, you would like that too. Not Samara Weaving though. I just looked it up.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. But she's amazing. I hope they do a third one because I do need some resolution on the plot holes in the second one. And then last but not least, this is not Halloween related, but Becky and I, when we were at the con, we watched The other two, which is not an I Told You show, because I didn't need any convincing to watch that show. All you needed to say to me was Molly Shannon and the dude from Bajillion Dollar Properties. But it does fall under our category of showendipity, which is the right show at the right time, which was siblings on a trip together, kind of doing a pop culture-y thing. We watched half the second season together. I hadn't even seen the first season. I've restarted from the beginning. I love every minute of that show. It is adorable. It is amazing. It is so funny. And there are moments in that show where I'm like, it is like a slightly shifted non-Jewish lens, and it could be our family.
No, there's certain lines where I'm like, I turned to Shai and said, Shai, did we write this? Did
someone watch us? And like, there's a couple of times where the siblings talk to each other, and I'm like, someone has been listening to our phone calls.
Or certain things that Molly Shannon does where I'm like, are they spying on mom? That's weird.
Oh yeah. I mean, if our mom had a show, it would be a lot like Molly Shannon in that second session. Yeah. But that second season,
Pat? Is that what it is?
But more Cuban and Jewish.
But just the fact that she FaceTimes her kids on her TV show every day.
She is so like pure and sweet and perfect on that show.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Love it.
Okay, let's do our socials and our goodbyes. We've taken so much of your time extra. Thank you, Antonia. Antonia, where can people follow you? All the things. Tell us.
All the things. YouTube.com/Antonia Carlotta. My YouTube is called Universally Me. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, pretty much anywhere else. Just look up at Antonia Carlotta, and I'm going to spell that out. ANTONIA CARLOTTA.
Awesome.
Just look for me everywhere. There's only
and
one.
We
of
will
me.
have all of the links. We will have links in Antonia's name in our show notes, so they will take you to the YouTube channel.
Thank you.
And Lily, we're going
to spell mine out. Can you hear me? Because
I mean, we can hear you touching the headphones all the time.
Sorry,
keep touching it.
Keep touching it. Keep
good.
Like mom walking on the street and talking to us. That's the.
Sorry,
I missed the sound of you touching it. Please.
Something happened to my mic.
Please grab.
I'm going to spell mine out too. There's also only one of me. It's Chichi CHI K Gomez, like Gomez Adams from the Addams Family.
Look at Antonia's face. You now have to explain it. We have a guest.
It's a long story, but the point is that
Chichi is her middle name. That's it.
It's not my middle name.
And Gomez is her husband's last name.
Okay, so when I don't have a middle name, but Becky and Shai do, but I was not given one. And I guess since our mom is Cuban, we have like some sort of Latin influence in our family. And I, as a child, gave myself the middle name Chichi.
And it's stuck till today.
And it's stuck like glue.
The gift that keeps giving.
Such that Becky's kids call Lily Tia Chichi.
Tia Chichi. I can't seem to get away from that. And then I don't know if Chichi Corman was taken, or I just didn't want to use my last name on Twitter. So I used my husband's last name.
No, Chichi Gomez was taken.
Chichi Gomez was taken, right?
Yeah.
So then I was like, I'm going to use my husband's last name. So I'll use Gomez, but it was taken. So I had to add the K. So that's why it's Chichi K Gomez, which in retrospect, I really should have rethought that.
Oh my God, I love it. You can follow me on Twitter at PaperBKPrincess.
Which Becky's comes from the Robert Munch
Paper Bag
classic
Princess.
Feminist
The Paper Bag
children's
Princess.
book, The Paper Bag Princess.
And Paper Bag Princess.
Have you ever heard that one, Antonia?
Oh,
so there was a store in LA called Paper Bag Princess, because that's where I bought my prom dress in high school.
So the name comes from this really awesome book.
The book is amazing. If you can get your hands on that book.
My favorite character in the entire world. But Paper Beck Princess, I think, didn't fit on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter has character
limit, so it's Paper BK Princess.
I see. I wasn't sure if it was like a Burger King reference.
Which is her initials.
Oh, it's just my initials, but I get that a lot.
Maybe you should have been Paper B. Oh no, B was probably taken. But in short, you want to just summarize that story so we don't get to tell it that often. You told it a lot last weekend. Just tell that story quickly.
Which story?
Paper Bag Princess. Quickly.
Oh, okay.
The actual story, Robert Munch's story.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
Okay, it's
the last line of that
princess,
story is said in this house a lot.
a very fancy princess, and a dragon comes and burns down her castle and steals her prince. And she goes to get her prince back, but all there's left for her to wear is a dirty paper bag. And she goes and she outsmarts the dragon and she saves the prince. And he's like, "You look like a bum." And she's like, "You're a bum."
He goes,
No,
he goes, "Come back to save me
when
you got your hair cleaned up
like
and you look like a real princess."
She goes, "You're a bum," and then she dumps him and runs off
She
into the
goes,
sunset. On
"You
her
might have
own.
nice hair and nice clothes, but Ronald, you're a bum." And then it ends and it says, "And they didn't get married after all." And she just like is hopping down the road.
Since I was a little girl, it's my favorite story.
I love it.
The Paper Bag Princess. It's a great book.
All right.
And with that, you can follow me at Pancake for Table on Twitter. That's Pancake.
That's because Shy always orders a pancake for the table.
Oh my God, enough with the origin stories today.
I need to know where my siblings come from.
I believe I invented the concept well over 15 years ago at a diner in New York, and yeah, anyways, so Pancake for Table. That's Pancake and the number 4 Table on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow all the Friday Night Movie shenanigans at Fry Night Movie. You can follow the organizations that we support in the show notes. The theme music is by a band called What Does It Eat? And we have a mailing list that you can subscribe to on our website, FridayNightMoviePod.com. We promise you no more than one email a month. In fact, we haven't sent an email out in a very long time. So you're definitely not going to get spam, but you will get opportunities for giveaways. You will get curated playlists of our episodes because we've been doing this for 4 years now. And it's really hard to go scrolling through those episodes, but we're going to be doing some themed playlists and things like that. So I think you'll enjoy them. And with that, a huge thank you to Antonia Carlotta and her, and you got to check out her amazing YouTube channel, Universal with Me, Becky and Lily. I love you, my sisters. You're the best. Thank you for doing this every week. Bye.
Love you guys. Bye. So nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you, Antonia.
Bye. Nice meeting you. Thank you.